नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत क्रिएटर्स कॉर्नर में। आपके साथ मैं हूं मुकुल शर्मा। जी हां, क्रिएटर कॉर्नर्स में लगातार आपको हम बताते हैं किस तरीके से जब हम क्रिएटिविटी की बात करते हैं वो हमें लगातार नजर आती है, क्योंकि स्क्रीन तो ये आपकी है, पर अब आपका हुनर जो है पूरे देश तक हम उसको पहुंचा रहे हैं। किस तरीके से वो पहुंच रहा है अगर इसकी बात की जाए, क्योंकि जब डिजिटल दुनिया में जिन क्रिएटर्स ने अपने हुनर से रील्स को रियल बनाया और लाइक्स को लाइफ बनाया और फॉलोअर्स को फैमिली, आज वही टैलेंट पहुंच रहा है टीवी के सबसे भरोसेमंद स्क्रीन डीडी न्यूज पर। और हम लेकर आए हैं आपके लिए क्रिएटर्स कॉर्नर, जहां सोशल मीडिया इन्फ्लुएंसर सिर्फ कंटेंट नहीं दिखाते बल्कि अपनी कहानी, क्रिएटिविटी और कमिटमेंट भी शेयर करते हैं। यहां हर क्रिएटर को मिलेगा पूरा क्रेडिट, आपका नाम, आपका चैनल, आपकी पहचान, मंच हमारा, क्योंकि हुनर का सम्मान होना चाहिए और पहचान होनी चाहिए राष्ट्रीय। तो तैयार हो जाइए रील से रियल तक, मोबाइल से मेन स्ट्रीम तक और सोशल मीडिया से राष्ट्रीय मंच तक के शानदार सफर के लिए। आप देख रहे हैं क्रिएटर्स कॉर्नर, जहां क्रिएटर्स बनते हैं सेलिब्रिटीज। और क्रिएटर्स कॉर्नर में आज आइए हम बात कर लेते हैं भारत की बदलती तस्वीर की। जी हाँ, जहां नारी शक्ति अब सीमाओं को नहीं बल्कि संभावनाओं को पहचान रही हैं। एक समय था जब महिलाएं सामाजिक, आर्थिक और राजनीतिक रूप से पीछे मानी जाती थी, लेकिन आज अपने साहस, आत्मविश्वास और कड़ी मेहनत के दम पर भारतीय महिलाएं हर क्षेत्र में नई ऊंचाइयां छू रही हैं। नारी शक्ति वंदन अधिनियम जैसे ऐतिहासिक कदम महिलाओं को न सिर्फ अधिकार दे रहे हैं बल्कि उन्हें निर्णय लेने की ताकत भी दे रहे हैं। आज 14 लाख से अधिक महिलाएं पंचायती राज, स्थानीय निकायों में नेतृत्व कर रही हैं, जो हमारे लोकतंत्र को और मजबूत बना रहा है। कंटेंट क्रिएटर प्रियंका गुप्ता अपने इस वीडियो में बता रही हैं कि कैसे बदलते भारत में नारी शक्ति आज प्रगति की नई परिभाषा लिख रही है।
आपने कभी नोटिस किया है, पहले राजनीति या लीडरशिप रोल्स में महिलाएं कितनी कम दिखाई देती थी? मतलब फैसले तो सबके लिए होते थे, लेकिन फैसले लेने वाले लोग कौन होते थे? अब धीरे धीरे ये तस्वीर बदल रही है। आज भारत में महिलाओं की भागीदारी राजनीति और लोकल गवर्नेंस में लगातार बढ़ रही है। पहले चुनाव में महिलाओं की हिस्सेदारी सिर्फ करीब 3% थी और अब ये बढ़कर लगभग 10% तक पहुंच गई है। और सिर्फ चुनाव लड़ना ही नहीं, जीत भी रही हैं। लोकसभा में भी महिलाओं की संख्या पहले से काफी बढ़ रही है, लेकिन असली बदलाव कहां दिखता है? जमीनी स्तर पर। आज भारत में करीब 14.5 लाख महिला प्रतिनिधि पंचायतों में चुनी गई हैं, यानी लगभग 46%। सोचिए, गांव के स्तर पर फैसले लेने में अब आधी आबादी शामिल है और ये दुनिया में भी एक बड़ी बात मानी जाती है। इतना ही नहीं, कई राज्यों में महिलाओं को 50% तक आरक्षण दिया गया है। मतलब अब सिर्फ भागीदारी नहीं, सही जगह भी मिल रही है। अब यहाँ एक और बड़ा बदलाव आया है। 2023 में एक कानून पास हुआ जिसके तहत लोकसभा और राज्य विधानसभाओं में भी महिलाओं के लिए 1/3 सीट आरक्षित की जाएंगी। सीधी भाषा में कहे तो आने वाले समय में आपको राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर भी और ज्यादा महिला नेता देखने को मिलेंगी। लेकिन सिर्फ सीट मिल जाना काफी नहीं होता, लीडर बनने के लिए ट्रेनिंग भी जरूरी होती है, कॉन्फिडेंस भी चाहिए होता है और सिस्टम को समझना भी पड़ता है। इसलिए अब ऐसे कार्यक्रम शुरू किए गए हैं जहां महिला प्रतिनिधियों को ट्रेनिंग भी दी जा रही है ताकि ये बेहतर फैसले ले सके और अपनी भूमिका को मजबूत बना सके। और एक दिलचस्प पहल, महिला अनुकूल ग्राम पंचायत। मतलब ऐसे गांव जहां फैसले और योजनाएं महिलाओं और लड़कियों की जरूरतों को ध्यान में रखकर बनाए जाएं। अब इसे एक आसान उदाहरण से समझते हैं। पहले अगर गांव में कोई समस्या होती थी, जैसे पानी, सुरक्षा या स्कूल से जुड़ी परेशानी, फैसले लेने वाले लोग शायद उस समस्या को उतना महसूस नहीं कर पाते थे। लेकिन अब जब महिलाएं खुद फैसले लेने वाली जगह पर हैं, तो प्राथमिकताएं अपने आप बदल जाती हैं और इसका असर सिर्फ गवर्नेंस तक सीमित नहीं है। आज भारत में 10 करोड़ से ज्यादा महिलाएं सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप से जुड़ी हुई हैं, जो गांव की अर्थव्यवस्था को भी मजबूत बना रही हैं। तो ये सिर्फ भागीदारी की कहानी नहीं है, ये असर और बदलाव की कहानी है। धीरे धीरे बिना ज्यादा शोर के सिस्टम बदल रहा है।
जाना आपने किस तरीके से लगातार ये जो बदलाव है वो देखने को मिल रहा है और नारी शक्ति वंदन अधिनियम की वजह से हम मान सकते हैं कहीं ना कहीं एक निर्णायक नेतृत्व में भी अब जो बदलाव है हमें नजर आएगा। फिलहाल हम यहाँ रुक रहे हैं छोटे से ब्रेक के लिए, जल्द लौटते हैं।
बैसाखी दी लख लख बधाइयां।
मेरे परिवार ने खूब गरीबी देखी तो माँ मुझे भी गरीबी में नहीं देखना चाहती थी। तो एक दिन माँ ने पैसे जुटाए और सीधा मेरे गोद में रख दिया ये ड्रोन। मैंने कहा माँ से ये मैं कैसे चलाऊंगी? तो माँ कहती है ये चलता नहीं, उड़ता है। और जिस दिन से ये उड़ा ना, उस दिन से हमारी सारी गरीबी भी उड़ गई। अरे मेरी माँ से तो आप मिले ही नहीं ना। एक मिनट, ये रही मेरी माँ, मेरी भारत माँ।
पिछले 12 सालों में देश ने 3 करोड़ से अधिक महिलाओं को लखपति दीदी बनाया, 35 करोड़ से अधिक महिलाओं को मुद्रा लोन दिलाकर उद्यमी बनाया और अब तो लोकसभा और राज्य विधानसभाओं में भी 33% महिला आरक्षण भी, ताकि विकास में रहे नारी की भी साझेदारी। अब नेतृत्व की बारी है, नारी शक्ति वंदन की जिम्मेदारी है।
जब धरती चीर कर निकलता है लोहे का पत्थर और मिलता है मोंगिया के जोश से, फिर तपता है, पिघलता है और बनता है फौलाद। अब होता है सरिया सारी खूबियों के साथ। मोंगिया स्टील, मजबूत देश का मजबूत सरिया।
ब्रेक के बाद आप सभी का एक बार फिर स्वागत। आप देख रहे हैं क्रिएटर्स कॉर्नर। आइए अब हम बात करने जा रहे हैं एक ऐसे विषय पर जो हमारे भविष्य को तेजी से बदल रहा है, वो है आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस यानी एआई। आज हम जानेंगे कैसे एआई नेटवर्क और ऑपरेशन को स्मार्ट बना रहा है, कैसे पर्सनलाइजेशन हमारे डिजिटल अनुभव को बदल रहा है और कैसे ऑप्टिमाइजेशन से संसाधनों का बेहतर उपयोग अब संभव हो पा रहा है। अपने पॉडकास्ट में इन सभी महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दों पर कंटेंट क्रिएटर ईशा गुप्ता ने बात की एआई विशेषज्ञ डॉक्टर शैलेश कुमार से, जो डेटा साइंस और एआई के माध्यम से उद्योग और समाज में बड़े बदलाव ला रहे हैं।
Welcome to today's episode. We have a very special guest today, Dr. Shailesh Kumar, who is the Chief Data Scientist at Jio, where he leads innovative work in the field of AI and data science. Dr. Kumar, thank you for taking out the time and agreeing to share, your valuable insights and expertise on this most important topic today, artificial intelligence.
AI is one of those horizontal skills, right? Like math has transformed many fields, economics, physics, engineering. Language has transformed many fields, right? Art, music, journalism, movie making. Similarly, AI is a very horizontal skill. It is transforming all industry sectors, business functions, and social sectors. So let's talk about industry. So let's take some examples from telecom sector, right? Sure. So Jio is one of the largest telecom providers probably in the world in terms of data and all of that. And we solve very interesting problems in telecom. For example, one of the holy grails in telecom is what we call the self-adapting networks, right? So the idea is that city is a very dynamic entity. People are moving around in the city. Data requirements at night, during commute, morning, evening, and during day are different. But the cell towers are static. So how do we take care of dynamic demand with a static infrastructure?
Correct.
So the degree of control we have is the antennas. So we can actually software we can tilt the antennas. So one of the algorithms we have built is around how do you dynamically change the tilts of the antenna to say if the city is different, how do you change the demand, right?
Okay.
So this is an example of what we call the adaptation of operations to do this, right? In retail, for example, there are many use cases. We have seen search engines which can now figure out exactly what you want. If one person likes certain brands, certain colors of shirts, another person likes certain other brands, other colors of shirts, and if both of them are doing shirts query, they will not see the same result. They will see Not only shirts, but their kind of shirts and their kind of shirts. So personalization is a big theme. Marketing, sales, advertisement, search results, home pages, Netflix.
Yeah.
You've seen that personalization happening, YouTube. So everything is now getting personalized at scale. And that is one of the themes in AI, how do we personalize everything. Then, let's take an example of, so marketing has been personalized, if you will, and, then the third theme is optimization, right? So personalization and optimization. Optimization is really about, like supply chain optimization and demand forecasting. So for example, in fleet management, Ola, Uber, we want to make sure the right number of cabs are at the right location at the right time of day.
Yeah.
Right? In railway stations, in airports, in movie theaters on the weekends, where do we need more cabs? And this we can learn from data based on historic demand. Using that, we can predict future demand. Every 15 minutes, I can predict how many cabs in every part of the city I need. And then I can move the cabs around which are free to meet the demand, right? So this will bring efficiency into the platform. The time taken to get a cab is reduced, and overall utilization of resources is maximized, right? So this is just an example of how do we do resource utilization. Similarly, routing. In retail, like if Amazon, Flipkart, JioMart have to deliver, how do we optimize delivery, right? How do we bundle the N things that one delivery guy has to deliver, and what the route they should take, so that the distance is optimized, right? Similarly, when we are running a refinery, for example, right, in manufacturing, whether it is continuous manufacturing or smooth manufacturing, one of the very important holy grail problems is the process control. How do we optimally run a plant for maximum quality of product, minimum energy consumption, for a given demand of certain products, with a given input of the raw material? So like in refinery, the input is a raw material crude. Crude can come from different areas which has different properties. The demand can come based on, jet fuel is required more or something else. How do you now take these two as constants and figure out how to run the refinery properly, right? So we have now solved a very interesting problem of a joint optimization of a refinery, which is like, hundreds of units working together to improve both the quality of the produce and the cost of running the refinery. So that becomes a optimization problem. So generally, if you think about it, personalization, optimization are the two broad themes in the world of most industries, what they do, right? It reduces their capex cost, opex cost, it increases profitability, it increases customer experience, it increases operational efficiency. So when we think about those metrics, then we think about the right places where we apply personalization on the customer side and optimization on the operations side. And those are giving big benefits to all industry.
So AI strategy today is focused primarily on the social sector. So what are the industry verticals that can benefit from AI? If you could just talk about that.
Yeah, so in the social sector, if we look at the India's AI strategy paper, we focused on primarily education, healthcare and agriculture, and mobility and environment and sustainability, right? So I think what has happened in the last 20-25 years is we have mastered the art of applying AI to, building great search engines, followed by great, generative AI, ChatGPT and all that. We have solved the problem of recommending the right videos on YouTube or Netflix or connecting the right people on social media.
Correct.
So we have solved some very complex, very interesting problems at a planet scale. That's what we have done in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But in the next 20 years, the trend I am seeing now is that a lot of social impact problems are being handled by AI, right? So let's talk about each one. So in education, if we think about what education would look like if it was born today, in the post-AI world, post-digital world, when every kid has a phone and connectivity and content, what should education look like, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, there are three themes of education we should work on. again going back to personalized education, right? So the first theme is that today our education system is a one-size-fits-all education system. We all teach the same thing at the same pace to every child without worrying about where they are in their learning journey, right? And it's unfortunate that we have personalized our Netflix but not education.
That's so
right?
true. Yeah.
So I think this is a great opportunity to personalize education.
Yeah.
What does it mean? First thing is, if you look at what the current GPS of a student is, right? What do they know? What do they not know? What they have not started?
What do they aspire to do?
And currently, what is their current state?
Yeah.
And based on that, if you can decide, AI can decide that this student is ready to learn this concept because they have mastered all the prerequisites of this concept. And this student is not ready to learn this concept, right? So there is a thing called mastery learning in education. So the idea is only if you have mastered a concept, you should move forward. And if you have mastered all the prerequisites of a concept, then you should be allowed to learn the next concept, whose prerequisites you have mastered. So this is something now can be done for every student in the world across all subjects. That is the possibility, right?
Okay.
So think about the scale and personalization we can bring. The second thing AI can do in education is what I call content personalization. We all learn differently. Some people can learn from a few abstract examples, or some kids need a real world example before they understand the theory and all that. So can I now learn the learning style of the student and then either create content through Gen AI or search content which is matching their learning style? We all have taken Coursera courses. Either we are not ready for the course or either the teaching style of the teacher is different than what we learned, right? So these two mismatches are happening. Just because we have Coursera and all that, we have not yet reached the full potential of AI in those things. They're all content companies, right? So that is the second thing we do: curriculum personalization, then content personalization. The third is what I call the practice personalization. Today, every homework is the same for every child. That is not a very personalized thing. Now, today, again, the same theme. If you look at how farmers need help at every stage of their agriculture journey. They want to know what to grow given their climate and soil. They want to know how to do the practice of agriculture. They want to know where to sell it for maximum profitability. So they need help. And now there are not enough experts to help them, right? In each language. So now imagine an AI expert in agriculture who knows agriculture, the domain knowledge of agriculture, who gets data from every farm's soil IoT, satellite data, all of that, weather data, and actually generate an advisory for every farmer in the country and say, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. And by the way, 3 days later, rain is coming in your area. Your crop doesn't need that much water. The soil moisture is already high. So don't irrigate your crop for the next 3 days. This level of precision farming is now possible with AI, right? And, again, like I said, domain knowledge is there. Data layers are to be built in agriculture, and AI algorithms are ready. If we can put it all together, this is also possible, right? We can even do the heat map of every crop in the country, knowing what is coming in the next 1 month. We can match it with the demand of every crop in every part of the country. We can make a very efficient agriculture system based on demand supply. We can run our export-import policies of food based on AI. So there's a lot of applications of AI, from advisory to optimization to supply chain and everything, right? Healthcare is a huge area. I think we don't have enough doctors. Doctor-patient ratio is very different, especially in the global south. And one of the critical problems in healthcare is diagnosis. Because of wrong diagnosis or delayed diagnosis, a lot of burden comes on the family later. So, AI can really now surpass human medical students, at least, in doing the diagnosis, right? So if you tell an AI system, these are your symptoms, it will ask a follow-up question. Do you also have rashes? Do you have cough and vomiting? And based on that, behaving pretty much like a doctor does, it can diagnose the top 5 diseases and do a very good job of what we call a preclinical diagnosis.
Which is screening.
Preclinical diagnosis. What to screen for.
Okay.
So I need to know the first 5 diseases so that now I can say, okay, now I know the first 5 diseases possible. Let me now do the second stage and do the investigation.
That's how it eliminates the
wrong thing. But you cannot not have your target disease in the first 5. You cannot miss that, right? And then you test for everything. Then AI can analyze all the data also, right? It can look at X-ray, ECG, everything, come up with a report, doctor can look at it and all that. And then AI can do a post-clinical diagnosis.
So you mentioned that, we have a lot of personalized content that is accessible to us today, but that's not true for education. It's not as personalized as it should be. It's not as per every student's learning curve. So going forward, do you see any major breakthroughs there?
Yes.
In the field of education? Will students go to school? Will teachers exist? How will the future look like?
Yes, a very good question. So, if you look at how we are entering a world of digital physical systems, right? So if you look at Ola, Uber, it's a digital physical system. There's a digital component and a physical component. Healthcare also, you can do telemedicine. You can, there's a lot of digital and a physical. Similarly, schools are going to become a digital physical hybrid school. What does that mean is anything that can be done digitally, like learning from a video, doing problems on an iPad, those kind of things. The students will be able to do the digital part of education themselves. And the physical part, we still need human interaction, we still need one-on-one mentorship. So for physical things, like for example, playing games, doing a hackathon, solving a problem, doing debates, teaching each other, that develops a lot of communication skills. So now AI is telling that this student is weak on that, and in the same class, this student is very good at that concept. And it can pair up and say, hey, this is a mentorship period where there is a one-on-one teaching can happen, and a student who is good at a concept can teach a student who is not good at that concept.
So better collaboration.
Collaboration, communication skills, empathy. Today what we do, our education system is built on the idea of competition. The finer ideas of collaboration, empathy will not be taught explicitly, but through a mentorship program, we can actually define and identify, who can be the mentor and a mentee, and students can do that in the school. So the classroom should look like pairs of students sitting together, teaching each other, right? They should be solving problems. They should not be rote learning to give an exam, but they should be learning at home to solve a problem. So we want to launch a rocket to do this, we want to build a drone for delivering medicines in the emergency. So I think schools should become entrepreneurial innovation labs where whatever they are teaching, students should be able to apply that, whether in biology or physics or any other subject. So students should become thought leaders and entrepreneurs and innovators instead of test takers. That's what we are producing today. Right? IIT coaching, this coaching, that coaching. So the purpose of education has to become, how will I help society become better? What are the problems I should identify? Can I become what I call a design thinker, a system thinker, a solution thinker, and not just, how many marks I got in physics and chemistry.
Correct.
Right? Application of knowledge is what we are going to teach. That is the next level skill. And with the advent of Gen AI and all, we don't need to memorize anything. Right? We can have a just-in-time information I need. So the research skills are more important. How to do prompt engineering, what questions to ask, how to break down your problem into simpler problems, critical thinking. So I think what schools should be teaching should be not knowledge-centric teaching, but innovation-centric, thinking-centric teaching, right? And empathy-centric teaching. So I think those skills will be taught in a physical school, while all the learnings can be done with a digital school, like we talked about curriculum, content, and practice personalization.
तो इसी के साथ आज के क्रिएटर्स कॉर्नर के क्रिएटिव एपिसोड में बस इतना ही। अगर आपके अंदर भी है कुछ अलग करने का जज्बा, तो आप अपना कंटेंट हमें ddnews.creatorscorner@gmail.com पर भेज सकते हैं, या फिर आप 8130555806 नंबर पर व्हाट्सएप भी कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि क्रिएटर्स कॉर्नर में हर क्रिएटर की कहानी मायने रखती है और हर आवाज को मिलता है पूरा सम्मान, पूरा क्रेडिट। अगले एपिसोड में फिर मिलेंगे नई सोच, नए चेहरे और नई क्रिएटिव उड़ान के साथ। क्रिएट करते रहिए, प्रेरित करते रहिए और देखते रहिए क्रिएटर्स कॉर्नर सिर्फ डीडी न्यूज पर।